There's a little high school along the Jersey coast, about 10 minutes south of Asbury Park, and about an hour or so north of Atlantic City. You may have heard of it, Manasquan High School. Doesn't ring a bell? Ever hear of Jack Nicholson? He went there. So did noted film producer Bob Greenhut, New Jersey rock and roller Sonny Kent, and composer Timothy Broge. And so did Barbara Friedrich, the holder of the United States women's javelin record, and George Bower, Bobby's track coach, who coached there for more than 5 decades. I'm Lee Weisert. I also went to Manasquan High School, then came back and taught there for 47 years. But this story isn't about me. It's about my high school classmate, Barbara Friedrich Parcinski, and my track coach, George Bower. Some years ago, I was asked to put together a little video for the school's Athletic Hall of Fame ceremony, which, by the way, inducted Bobby into the Honor Society. In doing so, I sat down and had an interview with our track coach, George Bower, long retired. We spoke of many things Barbara Friedrich and of many things George Bower. I recently found the tape and wanted to add it to the Jersey archive of important and interesting New Jersey people. George passed in 2009. If you had Mr. Bower, you remember how every Tuesday you could get him off of algebra and get him talking about Wednesday's track meet. And that often led to talking about my classmate and fellow track and field member, Barbara Friedrich. So here it is, my contribution to the archive.
When she was a freshman, she came to see me. I can remember it was during lunch period. She came up to me and asked if she could have me show her how to throw the javelin. I said, well, I can. You can come out with the boys. Because at that time, girls did not have track. So she started from that point on. She had mentioned about her elementary school teachers saying what a strong arm she had. Well, once I saw what she could do, just by throwing a baseball, we were throwing that back and forth. She could throw a baseball over 300 feet. I know, she outthrew me. That's what it imitated. So I knew right away how remarkable a young lady she was. When I started practicing, the first practice I remember, we worked on what we call a crossover step, which is sort of running sideways, but lifting the rear leg and crossing vigorously to the left leg, and then taking several of those. So we went through it a couple of times, and I said, now, to impress upon you, I want you to do a lot of these on your own. I said, do 300, just exaggerating to show that I wanted as many as she can do. The next day she came into school, and she said, Mr. Bauer, I said, I couldn't do 300. I said, after 220, I got blisters. And I said, Bobby, I didn't mean for you to do 300. From that point on, I had to be very careful what I told her because she was so dedicated. And she went everywhere to make sure that she had the opportunity. She even established an indoor sport in track and field of the basketball throw, because you can't throw the javelin indoors. And she was in the AAU in Madison Square Garden, and she hit one throw. She went up and knocked the speakers out in Madison Square Garden. And that was another example of what she could do. But she was good. And then we played golf together, and she's an excellent golfer. And in tennis, we teamed up, and for novice tennis now, obviously I was more of a novice than she was, we won a couple of tournaments even. I got a couple of trophies downstairs that I attribute to her because she had to go get them while I just stood there. So we were very close back then. And when she got married and then she started teaching down in Toms River, I didn't get a chance to see as much of her. And I often wish that I was able to coach her when she went to the Olympics. But when she went off to college in her freshman year, I didn't get to see her and get to work with her at all up there. And then she had to go directly to the Olympics in that following summer. So I really never got to work with her at all. And I always, and of course, I don't think Newark State, I believe it was Newark State at that time, didn't have a track team or girls track team. If they did, I don't remember. And I often thought that she could have done better than ninth place, because she still holds the national record for the old javelin. And I was surprised they even listed it in the paper this a couple of weeks ago in the state. The state javelin record was somewhere around 160, and they said that's with the new implement, the old implement. She hit 198 feet 8 inches, and during practice she hit over 200 feet, which back in those days ranked her in the world. And one of the differences in the javelin, of course, is the weight. But back when she threw, you had to stick the point in the ground. If you didn't hit the point, it didn't count if it landed flat. Nowadays, I think they count it wherever it goes. So I just wished that she would have been able to throw the new javelin, because I think she could have done quite well with that too. Not 200 feet, but certainly I think she could have hit maybe 180. So it was a great pleasure to be able to coach an Olympian, and she's the only Olympian I ever coached, so I'm very proud of that fact. And the funny thing is, during these presentations, I coached several of the other ones. Jake Langfried ran track for me, and I was Vic Caboo's first football coach. He was on my freshman team, quarterback. He was quite small then, but I remember Vic, and I used to joke every time I saw him with all the years of success that he's had. I said, "Hey, Vic, I tell everybody I taught you everything you know." And of course, he used to have a fit by saying that. He very explosive. And it was always a standing joke between us, because actually I probably learned more from him than he did from me. But again, those were two athletes. And Beckman ran track for me. And Bruce even used to help my babysitter. He used to join my babysitter. I don't know if you want that on there or not, but I do remember Bruce and I very well. Yeah, he might be. But I think Bruce, in my opinion, was one of the best all-around athletes that we ever had. Not to take anything away from Jake. And what? Mark Lockermeyer is another one. Mm-hmm. Yes, and I didn't coach him, but I had him as a student, and I knew him very well. Baseball, and of course,
Alfred Morgan wasn't. You weren't there.
No, Alf graduated the year before I got there. Actually, counting coaching, I was at Manasquan for 6 decades. Not quite 60 years, but I started in the 40s, and I made it into the 90s. And as a result, I got a plaque thanking me for my 6 decades. Technically, it was just barely the end of one and the beginning of the other, but it sounds good that I had six decades at Manasquan. And of course, one of my best shot putters is taking the pictures now. That was a year we had, 2 50-footers or 3? 2. You and Reggie, right?
That was year after. I hit 50 after Reggie graduated.
Oh, okay.
There were 2 50-footers that year with Reggie and John.
Oh, that's right, John Liang, others. Yeah.
That's where I was like a sophomore, and I got in on the shot put relay, which is
That's right.
still a record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, I had forgotten that. See?
That's my one claim to fame at the in sports at Manasquan.
Well, hey, it's a good one. Hey, 50-footers, they don't a lot. They're not hitting 50 feet that often now.
Yeah. Well, my
Okay,
senior year,
good.
there was like 4 or 5 that reached
Yeah.
60
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the shore conference
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah, I actually don't know what they're throwing now, because now they're doing the discus,
Yeah.
the spin with the shot. Of course, I never taught that. In fact, when I was coaching, they was still using the metal poles in the pole vaulting. They were just coming in with John Loverick, I remember. I think he was the first one I ever had. And I never really learned how to coach that. And that was the end of my track coaching. But I've always enjoyed Manasquan, and I still, my blood is still blue, I guess is the best way I can say it. I try to go to as many athletic events as possible. Definitely I don't miss any football games. Been going there since 1949, so I've seen a few Manasquan teams. So I guess that's about it, Lee.
I
Right?
think that's going to do it.
Don't let the feeling stop themselves.